Okay, everyone. I hope you've had a chance to digest video number one for day one of the festival, and just been having a look through the form for day two. And here's what I've come up with so far. The first race of day two of the festival is obviously the National Hunt Chase, big 4 mile plus event. Um, that's always really good for the amateur riders, and it usually brings in a really good finish at the end as well. A bit of a shame. Last year I did Any Currency, a horse I'm very keen on, and he was due to go for the race again this year, and then the Grand National, but unfortunately he picked up a leg, and therefore he won't be going, which is a shame. However, I think the ideal horse for this race is Irish trained. It's called Chicago Grey. He's got some really good course form. He fell when he was right in contention at a race at the start of the season, but since then he's registered some good efforts in both England in Cheltenham at the course and in Ireland. Last time looked like he was crying out for a further trip than 3 mile two, so I think the 4 mile around here will be perfect for him. Another one to keep an eye out on this is Quellisbury, who's done nothing wrong this season. Slight stamina doubt for me on this horse at around 10-1. So my pick for this one would be Chicago Grey at 6-1. I think that's a very fair price. What I would also say on that as well is some bookmakers will be offering top four, so do keep an eye for that because often some will go three here, so four places could be important. The second race is the Neptune Investment Hurdles, and I know it's only been run a few times, but one thing you must keep a very close eye out on this is that fresh horses generally do well. The sad news came in today. One of the anti-post favourites for this race, Backspin, John O'Neill, sadly died in the night. Might be the first time some of you are hearing it. Apparently, it was an apparent heart attack during the night, but obviously that is a sad loss. I know he didn't perform great last time, but no, I think we had a horse we had a horse with a very big future, so it's pretty sad. Two horses to focus on here. First of all, Bob's Worth. I don't know if he'll end up going to this. He's got a lot of festival engagements, but he's 2 from 2 around Prestbury Park. The Henderson horses are on fire. Currently around 6-1 anti-post for the Neptune, and I think that horse is going to go pretty well if he goes for this race. But whatever he goes for, Bob's Worth is definitely one to keep on the right side of. The other idea of a good thing in this race is So Young. It's trained in Ireland. It's unbeaten. They're really high. They really think a lot of this over there. And I've spoken with some guys over there who do think it's one of the naps of the meeting. They are absolutely convinced about this one. And another Irish horse, which there's been a lot of good stories written about it recently, is First Lieutenant, which you probably remember, or if you've seen him already, runs in the Weapons Amnesty or War of Attrition colours. Looked like he was crying out for a step up to 2 mile 5 furlongs last time out. So yeah, he's another one to keep an eye out. So they're the three against the field. So Young at 7-1, Bob's Worth at 6-1 if he runs, and First Lieutenant if you're looking for something a bit bigger at 14-1. Oscar's Well is a very worthy favourite, though I would say at around 3-1, that's plenty short enough. There's a lot of quality in this race, and if you're going to take 3-1 about that, there's a lot better 3-1 shot to feel at Cheltenham this year. Next up, we've got one of the most exciting races of the festival, without question. That is the RSA Chase. Won last year by Weapons Amnesty, just touching off Burton Port, and of course Long Run, who's now up there for among the favourites for the Gold Cup, coming in third. But my idea of the winner here, I'm actually going to start off with Wymot, who runs in the Burton Port colours, who came in narrow second, the Trevor Hemmings colours. Trevor Hemmings is had a lot of good horses in this race. Burton Port went very close last year, and a couple of years back, everyone will remember a great horse he had called Trabolgan, who won the RSA. And his Wymot is highly thought of. They thought a lot of him. I read a book that I get each year, and they gave him a very, very big chance. At the start of the season, they said he could become anything, and since then he hasn't put a foot wrong over fences. He stays very, very well, and this has been the target since the last interview we read, which was in November. They knew that they had a serious horse, and at 12-1, I think that's a great, great bet there for the festival each way. Time for Rupert is a favourite and a worthy favourite. Obviously, beaten by big bucks last year in the World Hurdle, which it's no disgrace in that. It's never going to beat that horse, I don't think, over 3 mile hurdles. And has taken the transition to fences, in particular around Cheltenham, like a duck to water. The one concern is he was meant to race at Cheltenham at the end of January on trials day, and he was injured and he was out. I can't remember if it was an injury or if it was a bit of an infection that he didn't scope well. But either way, I think at the time it was 6 weeks before the festival. So even if you lost some work there and this, that, and the other, you need to, for me, Anything that goes wrong after Christmas, in particular, going into Cheltenham, I'm not 100% happy with that. And at 5-2, it might turn out to be a great price, but he has had a bit of an interrupted preparation. I'd rather be taking the 12-1 each way on Why Not, to be honest with you. Two other horses in this race. Wayward Prince has been running in lower quality races than this, but he showed a great attitude. He stays very well, and like Weatherby last time, he had to do it from the front, which he didn't want to do. And every time someone challenged him, he pulled out this little bit more. I do think he's got a bit of a lazy temperament, but he does battle well once someone throws it down to him. So 12-1, he's another big bet, big price, sorry, that is worth looking at. And once again, a horse I mentioned on day one, Hell's Bay, 25-1, goes great at the course, new lease of life. So keep an eye out for that. But my idea for the 1, 2, 3 will be Why Not to win from Time for Rupert second and Wayward Prince third. Moving on to the feature of day 2, which is the Queen Mother Champion Chase. And this year I'm actually going to go looking for a bit of value, I think, in the Champion Chase. And I'm coming down on the size of Sizing Europe. I had a look. I cannot believe this horse is 14-1 in places. He's a fantastic horse. He won the Arkle last year. He's been campaigned over further and hasn't been, well, one, hasn't fully been getting it home over the 3 miles, and two, he likes good ground. He comes alive at the second part of the season, like he did when he won at the Arkle last year at the festival. And as a 14-1, to be honest, I think it's an absolute massive price. As I said, it's a very talented horse. Remember, he was favourite 2 years ago, I think it was, for a champion hurdle and looked all over the winner, but he injured a back coming around the final bend there, and he could have been a champion hurdle horse there. Then to win the Arkle, he always goes well around here, and I think that's an insulting price, really. Big Zeb is the reigning champion. Hasn't looked as good this year as last year, but I don't think he's had to. I don't think I think they've been a bit more sensible with him this year. Now that you've got a champion horse, why not? And he'll be in the mix up at 3-1. The other horse I like is Summersby, who ran masterminded right to the line at Ascot last time. And I think 7-1 is a good price for that horse. Always good for an each way. I just think the trip will catch him out a little bit, and he'll probably stay on at the end. The other horse, obviously, is on his day the very classy Masterminded. But two things are niggling me there. One, he was stopping very, very quickly when Summersby nearly caught him last time out at Ascot. And the time before that, I know he was racing against Alberta's Run. And I know people were going to say, oh, he was going much better than him. But Alberta's Run stays all day. And he fell 3 out, I think it was, Alberta's Run. And, just because he was getting pushed, Summersby was getting pushed and nearly caught him. And Alberta's Run is in the same class as Summersby. So while he came home a distance in that race, what's to say that, he would have won by a distance? We really don't know. And I'm still not 1,000,000% convinced he's back to the horse he was 2 years ago. So I wouldn't be taking like the 2-1 on offer there. So my idea of the top three there, I would look at it's each way on Sizing Europe 14-1 for the win. Big Zeb will also be there, probably in second or third, along with Summersby. Very quickly on the Coral Cup. Coral Cup's just one of those big handicap hurdles. It's a complete nightmare for punters, actually. Form means very little. There's very, very little to go on. Some of the winners over the last few years have been 50, 33-1. There's been some absolute gargantuan gambles in this race gone absolutely to pot. So I'm only going to spend a little bit of time on this because there's also, again, the problem of a lot of horses declared for many races. Aegean Dawn is highly thought of, and from an article I read back in December, the Coral Cup was his target, and he's been lightly campaigned around this reservist mark. He could go very well. Bookmakers have put him in at 10-1, second favourite at the moment, which I think for that reason people know that's potentially his main target. One to keep an eye out who does like to target the Coral Cup is Notus de la Tour. He ran a great race in the Tote Sport Trophy, tried to do it from the front, eventually faded and came third or fourth, I think. But I think he got caught tap for toe over 2 mile one. I think 2.5 mile on this trip is absolutely perfect. He's got a good second to Sanctuary at Cheltenham last year, and 25-1 if he goes for the Coral Cup, that could be a very big price. One to mention, but only if the ground comes up pretty heavy, is Bothy as well, around 20s. Though I don't think we're going to get overly heavy ground. We never really do at Cheltenham. The next one is another handicap, the Fred Winter. Spend a little bit of time on this. If a horse goes in this called Immediate Lose for Nicky Henderson, I would get on this horse. On his debut, he pulled too hard and faded quickly at Cheltenham. And then it was just a run of bad luck stories. He then got a second next time out to a progressive type. For the time after that, he was absolutely cantering, I think it was, at Kempton when he unshipped Barry Geraghty 2 out. And then, but last time out at Huntington, he absolutely hosed up. He's come on again since then. He's got a cracking engine on him, and I think that horse around 8-1 could be a really good bet for the Fred Winter. The other thing I would say at this moment is look out for David Pipe horses. He usually targets 4 or 5 in this race. And while his win rate isn't exactly good, he has actually got a good record of getting them placed. And final race of day 2, the Champion Bumper. The big tip for this is always look for what Willie Mullins is going to send over from Ireland. He's harvested this race 6 times in the last 10, 12 years. And every horse he runs in it seems to run well, even if it doesn't win. So I'm not going to mention any Willie Mullins horses at the moment yet, but because, whoever he ends up deciding to send over is worth a close look at the time. But I will focus on 2 from UK yards, in particular Keys, who's got a general flat trainer in Roger Charlton, and he's done absolutely nothing wrong in his 2 runs this year. He's got the flat trained side to him, which I think will help in a bumper race, and also he's got the course form from his New Year's Day win, which the form has been let down a bit since, but at the end of the day you've got a really impressive win around the course at a good time. So Keys at 14-1 currently could be a very good bet. Another horse I do like from over this side of the water is Knight's Pass. 2 runs, 2 easy wins, and he's currently 9-1. My heart's saying Keys at 14 might be a bit better value there. So my recommendation there is take a look at the Willie Mullins trained horses, but for the places you're looking at Keys and Knight's Pass. So in summary, for the National Hunt Chase, look at a good bet probably is Chicago Grey at 6-1. The Neptune Investment Hurdle, either Bobsworth at 6-1 if he runs. If not, then look at So Young at 7s. The RSA, Wymot each way at 12-1. The Queen Mother, Size in Europe each way bet at 14-1, with the Coral Cup, Aegean Dawn at 10s or Notus Delator at 25s. Fred Winter, Immediate Lose 8-1, and the Champion Bumper, I'd say each way on Keys at 14-1. Now, in contrast to day 2 there, or day 1 there, day 2 looks like it's going to be a very big each way day to me at big prices, which will mean one of 2 things, either a staggering failure or a wonderful victory over the bookmakers. But we'll wait and see. Like I said with the last one, I hope you enjoyed this, and let us know what your thoughts are, let us know what you're tipping up on this day, and I'll see you soon for day 3. Bye-bye.